Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Would like to call the Hammond Redevelopment Commission meeting to order on this Tuesday, December 18th. It is now 4:30. Can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence after? Okay, thank you on that. Can we get a roll call on the commissioners?
Soto Presley,
Here.
Kasperky,
Here.
Navejas,
Here.
Myricks,
Here.
Upridge.
Here, for the record, all five are present tonight. Okay, number 3, declaration of conflict of interest. Okay, number 4, communications.
None were received.
Okay, that brings us to number 5, our minutes from November 1st, 2018, and December 4th, 2018.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes for the Hammond Redevelopment Commission for November 1st, 2018, and December 4th, 2018.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Minutes dating November 1st, 2018, and December 4th, 2018. Can we get a roll call on that?
Soto Presley,
Yes.
Kasperky,
Yes.
Navejas,
Yes.
Myricks,
Yes.
Upridge.
Yes, motion passes. 5 yes.
Hear that. 15, 21, that's about 40.
Number 6 is homebound, conditional forgivable loan approval. Looks like we might have one applicant.
Yes, he's here.
Welcome.
Good evening. I'm sorry, how do you pronounce your last name?
Veramontes,
Veramontes?
yeah.
How did you hear about our program, Mr. Veramontes?
Well, I heard about it in Chicago. I took the class and they told me to come here to the seat of Hammond because I was gonna buy in Hammond.
Oh, okay.
What kind of class?
It was a homeowners class.
Offered by who, may I ask?
Well, actually,
Maybe?
I have actually been a realtor in one of those classes where someone from Hammond couldn't make the Hammond, they just went to Gary and vice versa. So he probably just took it to Hammond, although he was buying it. I mean, he probably just took it to Chicago, although he was buying it Hammond.
Okay, so this is a realtor or something.
Her name is Loretta. Loretta from Chicago.
Okay.
Well, yay that
Anyone
you're
have,
here.
oh, are you a first-time home buyer?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions?
No, no.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the homebound forgivable loan approval for the one applicant.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the homebound conditional forgivable loan approval. Can we have a roll call, please?
Soto Presley,
Yes.
Kasperky,
Yes.
Navejas.
Yes.
Myricks,
Yes.
Upridge.
Yes, motion passes. 5 yes. Congratulations.
Thank
For
you.
coming out.
Congratulations.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Hey, you too.
Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome.
Okay, number 7's 2019 authorization notice for Executive Director Dennis C. Radowski to execute documents for purchase and closing on behalf of Hammond Redevelopment Commission for the Neighborhood Stabilization Program.
Members of the commission, this is the sort of, it's general and it's sort of a uniform authorization that we do every year so that Mr. Radowski, every time he goes to closing as part of the NSP program, doesn't have to come in and get individual authorization for each specific property. Similarly, you're going to get probably a resolution from me after the first of the year regarding closing on things that we purchased so that the staff doesn't have to go to every single one of them. So it's a routine authorization that we pass every year around this time.
Mr. President, I move for the 2019 authorization notice for Executive Director Dennis Radowski to execute documents for purchase and for closing on behalf of the Hammond Redevelopment Commission for the Neighborhood Stabilization Program.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Doesn't look like there's any further questions or discussion. Roll call, please.
Soto Presley?
Yes.
Espricki?
Yes.
Villegas?
Yes.
Myrick?
Yes.
Hopperidge?
Yes, motion passes, 5 yes. Number 8 is authorization to advertise for the sale of the property located at 1733 Lake Avenue.
So you should have received 2 appraisals, although in Ann's packet, there was just 1. I will tell you that the 2 appraisals came in at 235 and 225. So the authorization is to advertise for sale 1733 Lake Avenue for the average of the 2 appraisals, which is 225,000.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call on that, please?
Can I just, you said we're selling for 225?
225 is the average of the 2, yeah. Which is what, by law, we,
Right.
certainly someone could bid more than that, but that's your minimum bid price. Kind of starting,
Yeah, yep, I understand. It's just I have a 235 and a 225. Isn't the Vale appraisal for 235?
Oh. Thank you. Thank you, Cynthia.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if I heard you, Attorney.
Yeah.
Would it be the average between the 2?
it's going to be the average between the 2. It would be 230 then.
So it's 230. I know it's a small percentage. I just was making sure we set it,
No, that's
approved it
good.
properly.
If they were both 225, but if
Well-
one's 235.
So in the second appraisal, it's a good point, but if you look at the 3rd page of the second appraisal, and at the top, there's a paragraph that's continued from the previous,
Estimated is $1 per square foot.
and he says there, considering the totality of the circumstances, a probable value by the comparison approach is 225. I think that's what I was looking at. I'm sorry, 215. I'm sorry. He says a probable value is 215. But then at the bottom of the second page, he says 225.
I mean, like I say, it's a minor negotiating difference. I just wanted to make sure, entered the books properly.
We need to do it at 230.
I'm sorry?
We need to do it at the 230.
That's what I thought, yes.
It's a confusing appraisal. I was doing it from memory, but it should be advertised for sale at 230,000.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, if one's at 215 and 235. that would-
225 and 235, average is 230.
Right,
Yeah.
but if the one was, what did he say at first? I guess it doesn't matter. We're between 225 and 235, which will bring it to 230, the average of the 2.
That's right.
Okay.
And just a reminder, this is the last house over there that has been built and will be sold. It's been a very successful development.
Yeah. Very nice
They've been
homes.
selling pretty fast too, haven't they?
Yes,
All about that same range, if memory serves me right, so.
yep, that's correct.
So do we need to do this
Another
again, or?
motion.
Yeah,
For 230.
Mr. President, I move for the authorization to advertise for the sale of property located 1733 Lake at $230,000.
Second?
Second.
that is correct. Okay, we have a motion and a second. with authorization to advertise for the sale of property located at 1733 Lake Avenue at $230,000. Can we have a roll call on that, please?
Soto Presley?
Yes.
Tesbricki?
Yes.
Navejas?
Yes.
Myricks?
Yes.
Hopperidge?
Yes, motion passes, 5 yes. All right, thank you on that clarification on the price. Number 9 is an approval proposal for winterization at 5266 Holman Avenue, which is the LaSalle Hotel.
Well, since we discussed and we're not knocking it down, I guess we need to winterize it. I actually thought it was coming down, so I'll admit I was confused.
Actually, most of it's already done. They just had a problem with the Buffalo Box part, and that's what this is.
Mr. President, I make a motion for approval of proposal for winterization at 5266 Homer Avenue, also known as the LaSalle Hotel.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the approval proposal for winterization at 5266 Holman Avenue, which is known as LaSalle Hotel. Can we have a roll call, please?
Soto Presley?
Yes.
Tesbricki?
Yes.
Navejas?
Yes.
Myricks?
Yes.
Hopperidge?
Yes, motion passes, 5 yes. Okay, number 10's our bills, register of claims.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to pay the Register of Claims for December 3rd, 2018 through December 14th, 2018 for Register of Claims R56863 through, let's see, through R56930.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the register of claims dating December 3rd, 2018 through December 14th, 2018. Those are claims R56863 through claim R56930. Is there any further questions or discussion for these claims? Okay, roll call on the claims.
Soto Presley?
Yes.
Tesbricki?
Yes.
Navejas?
Yes.
Myricks?
Yes.
Hopperidge?
Yes, motion passes, 5 yes. Okay, number 11, new and unfinished business. Do you have anything tonight?
So there's one item. Struggling tonight. There's a water rights management agreement that you have that was passed out before the meeting. This was part of the development agreement with the data center. In fact, it was Exhibit C to that development agreement that you previously approved. We talked about the water rights management agreement. For the life of me, I couldn't remember if you specifically made a motion and approved it, so that's why it's being brought up under new and unfinished business tonight. This agreement is with DX Lake Michigan Infrastructures, who's affiliated with the folks that are developing the data center, as well as the prior owner, Sam Townline, who we purchased the property from. And the agreement allows for the data center folks to pull out water from Lake Michigan for cooling of its generators and data processing units. It also provides that for any future use of that water and the water rights permit, there would have to be agreement between the city and the data center folks. So, from the standpoint of the city, prior to this transaction taking place, we had no right or any say in what happened with the water or this permit. As part of the development agreement, we negotiated having a say, which is memorialized in this agreement. And it's a big benefit to the city. We don't know, obviously, everyone understands the importance of the water rights and how important it is to be able to get water out of the lake. So for us to be able to negotiate that as part of the development agreement, and then, like I said, this was Exhibit C to that document, which I don't think was completely ready when we approved the development agreement. That's what's up for your approval tonight. And it's the data center and the current landowner, or the former landowner, agreed to do it because that's how they got their development agreement, was part of that, negotiated, and the city wanted to do this because the city wants to have a say in what happens with that water.
And I think it's a good agreement. I mean, personally, it sounds like it's a good agreement, because just because everybody in this whole city and in this whole area depends on that water, the lake water.
We all certainly do, and not having a say in this permit before entering into this, and now having a say, we're in a better position than we were 30 days ago.
Right. So,
And they want it to be there because of the water. I mean, it works both ways.
That's right. I mean, that was it would have cost them, I heard estimates of $13 to $15 million to build cooling towers if they were located somewhere away from the lake. So by locating where they located, they saved $13 to $15 million on the project. And a $40 million project, that's more than 25% of the overall project would have been storing water in the air.
And you can stop them from building their own filtration plant. So no, that's
Correct, that was a big issue, a huge issue for us.
now
understandable. Yeah.
I have a question. So then down the road, not that anything would happen, but if we find that their use of the water is not a good thing for our lake, and of course for all our citizens that live in Northwest Indiana, then we would be able to handle that, right?
We would, but the thing to remember is that,
Not
you
that
know,
I'm trying to be negative, I'm, want to make sure that,
I don't see that as a huge possibility because, they're under the purview of IDEM and the EPA with what they do with the water. So I'm not as concerned about that they're going to do something that they're saying that they're not going to do with that water.
and I'm
doesn't.
not worried about that. I'm just saying something that may be unforeseeable as a result of, so then we would still,
I don't want to turn them into a water competitor
no.
and start trying to sell the water rights out of this permit. And so the reason I think this is important is that if anything other than cooling their operation is going to be done at some point in the future, maybe after we're long gone, they are going to have to come to the city of Hammond and say, this is what we want to do, can we do it? And they'll have to partner with the city, so the city will have a say-so and a financial stake if they ever decide to do something. And that's a big if, but it covers us, which we weren't covered before.
So we have inspectors and people like that would watch for,
We do, IDEM does, the EPA does, yeah.
Okay.
And under this permit, and I don't remember off the top of my head, but under the permit, there's a certain amount of gallonage that can be pulled out per day. And if you go to increase that gallonage for a filtration plant or some other, let's say I want to build a brewery there, right? Some facility that uses a huge amount of water, they're going to have to go back to IDEM and the EPA and get approval for that and come to us and say, this is what we want to do, can we do it? And we may say yes or we may say no, depending on what that use is. And we may say, well, sure, but you're going to pay us a surcharge for doing it.
Yeah, we can negotiate the fee at that point.
That's right.
Mr. President, with this discussion, I move for the approval of the Water Rights Management Agreement.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. There's no further questions or discussion. Roll call, please.
Soto Presley?
Yes.
Espricky?
Yes.
Villejas?
Yes.
Myrick?
Yes.
Southbridge?
Yes. Motion passes 5 yes. Is there any more unfinished business, Attorney Westland?
No, not that I'm aware of, unless Ann has something she's dying to say.
I do not.
All right, thank you. Public comment. Anybody like to come forward? You have 3 minutes now. Just introduce yourself.
Hello, Antonio, executive researcher, I know a few of you from in the city. Come here kind of unofficially, but more hastily, because we own a property which is adjacent to your Oxbow portion, which is Oxbow being the hotels, more or less. There's a parcel portion that is actually governed or owned by the Redevelopment Commission that we need access to probably as soon as possible, today, tomorrow. We acquired and own the portion to the east, which is now under the governance of Highland, Indiana. We have a trailer there that we're doing testing on that was mistakenly removed and is currently being held at Birch Towing, and we're trying to get it back. They're bringing it back, they're waiving the fees, all that good stuff, but there is a chain link fence or a chain that separates the two posts that was never there. Well, it was there intermittently, I guess, but at the end of the day, we have to cross that. And I can't figure out, for the life of me, who's the governing person who has that key. So that's basically, I have a PIN number if that helps with it. I mean, it's the Oxbow portion where your office is at, just southern by the southern east tip. It was over 5 years we've owned it. It was always assumed it was Hammond, and we legally, officially made it Highland as of right now. And it's just trying to get our trailer back on that parcel.
So I know a little bit about
Yeah,
this
yeah,
because I've had some discussion with Mr. Poland. The property itself, it's complicated because dating back to the 80s when the channel for the Little Cal was changed or altered, and which municipality this particular piece of property is in, and I know Brian has brought this up a couple of times. I don't need the PIN number because I know Brian, I talked to him about it last week.
Yeah.
And I know he's aware of it, so I would suggest, let me follow up with him, and then we can have either Brian or Africa get back to you as far as further answers about it. I know Brian has Brian's got a folder on this property.
Yeah,
because
we're aware.
it's complicated.
It definitely is, and I guess the long and short of it is the bow. The bow, north of the bow, Hammond, south of the bow, Highland. Given the fact that the bows, it gives us the appearance that, oh, it's Hammond because it's north of the river. But it's
Right.
the bowing, the actual topography never changes. So it was that. And it's more or less, Bert's kind of in a pinch. He's doing the favor of waiving the fees. He wants it moved. I can't take it anyplace else but there because it's meant to be connected there for our research, which ironically has to be postponed because of it's an accident, but that's more or less. Got to cross over it, more or less get the key to cross over. And then obviously, once that's acquired, done, possibly purchase or easement agreement to cross over vehicularly. I know I can cross over now walking, but the idea is you guys own it, and it's just dirt land for you guys. For me, it's the access point.
So, yeah, basically, this deals with the Little Cal and the way it was, the channel, and back in the 80s, and then this piece of property is kind of an island unto itself in that there's no clear access. As he's saying, there's no vehicular access at all to it. And if you looked at it on a map, you would say, well, how do I get to it? By helicopter or whatever, because now he probably has an easement by necessity. So that's where legally this becomes complicated, is the word I'll use. But I know Brian has a folder on it. I know this dates all the way back to the 80s, prior to my existence here. So that's what I'm saying. The best course is let me get with Brian, let me find out where he's at with this, and it's kind of come up once every several years, and then it sounds like we've got to deal with this and figure out where it's at.
Yeah, the
and resolve it
biggest
once
issue
and
was
for all.
resolved by Highland taking address. We now have an address for it, so once that's done, we're moving forward with
What's the address you have?
current address is 7800 5th Street, Highland, Indiana, 46322. And we're working to have it succeeded out of Highland and then either into itself or into Hammond, depending how that goes.
Okay.
Hey, this spot, though, I'm kind of familiar, but just for landmark in my mind
Sure.
here, is it behind the Hampton, or is
it-
it kind of between Kennedy Avenue and the Hampton?
No, it's actually between, I'm not sure which first hotel it is. Hyatt in Hampton is the first hotel. Second hotel, you have your pumping station or some kind of pumping box or building,
Yeah, so
180 feet to the
where
east.
we feed Highland water.
Really? Okay, so that's the transfer station or water transfer station. So it's just to the east of that, directly east of that. And it's about 3.8 acres, about per our survey's going to be testing now is going to see what portion of it is on land and other issues we got to look at, so.
All right, well, thank you for bringing this forward. I concur with Attorney Westland. He'll
Okay.
look into this with Mr. Poland and our staff.
Please. Thanks, you guys. Have good holidays.
You too.
Okay, if there's no more public comment, public comment closed. Number 13.
Mr. President, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Can you all signify by aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Meeting is adjourned.